There we go. Okay, so welcome to the NTC Talent Builders webinar series. I'm Shauna Dorsey, the Executive Director of the Nebraska Tech Collaborative. And today we have Zach, the CEO of Vetelligence, here today to talk about his new venture and also about how, or to share information about how folks can get involved and support it. So Zach, thanks for being here and tell us about yourself to get us started.
Sure. So my name is Zach Oshinbanjo, former Army, former government employee with the Department of Labor, Department of Veteran Affairs, and also a social worker who's kind of in this space now of trying to help other individuals who've gone through the military transition process kind of land and find their footing once they've separated from the military service.
So what led you to want to start this new company?
I think ultimately the thing that pushed me in this direction were some of the culmination of those experiences being in government, having been a social worker and kind of meeting people where they're at, whether that's, landing their own sort of independent living situation, their first level of employment, getting them some sort of medical care, really looking at a number of issues that affect people on a daily basis. And then also, stretching back 9 years to my military transition, where I was continuously put into this box of, okay, you're an infantry guy. So really people kind of relegated that to, okay, let's do some security, stadium security, mall security, and a number of other fields. And I recognized that this wasn't an isolated incident. And it was, even in the 9 years since I've transitioned out, it's something that's continuously continuing to happen.
Okay. And so what are some of the things that you do through your new company to help veterans connect with meaningful, like H3 type of jobs? And H3, for folks who don't know, it's high wage, high skill, high demand. So how do you support that?
I think one of the things that's most important is kind of creating a new skill taxonomy. And that's to say a new way to categorize and classify the way that skills are defined. Because I think there's often been this notion through some of the existing solutions that you can simply, at a surface level, look at what the main core responsibilities of a job, and extract that over to something that's similar in the civilian workforce. But the reality is more people are discharging or leaving military service with an idea to, leverage those skills and go into something completely different. So it's not necessarily saying if you were a logistics technician or some sort of like a truck driver or something in the military, that you should go out of the military and continue to be some long road trucker or something like that. But it gives you the opportunity to leverage, okay, there are skills that are innate and unique to being a logistics technician / truck driver. And how can someone extract those skills to go into an outside industry completely?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so then it's like a matter of sometimes it's some reskilling is maybe needed, but there are other times where you're able to help that individual translate that skill set into the private sector, like complementary skills in the private sector, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So can you share some examples of how this has worked for individuals, how your service has?
Well, we're very early, in the nascent stages of getting this moving forward. But I think ultimately one of the stories that immediately comes to mind is there was a service member. He was a sergeant in the military. He was in the Army. And he had the experience of having deployed and gone through all of these experiences while he was in the military service, but had no sort of inkling what he wanted to get into once he discharged from service. So I was able to engage and meet with him for about 4 weeks, once a week for 4 weeks. And we came to the determination that his skills would be, greatly utilized within software engineering. And so the biggest obstacle then is like, what are the skill gaps? Yes, it would be super great if every employer just said, yeah, we're going to hire everybody, but that's not realistic because there's still metrics and key operation goals that they have to follow. So what are the skill gaps that service member had into becoming a software engineer? So identifying those, and we found a program that made a lot of sense. It was local to him. He had a family situation where he didn't have the opportunity to just fly off and be somewhere for 3 months and doing something. It allowed him to asynchronously kind of get the knowledge and information he needed to become a software engineer. And I'm fortunate, or he's fortunate, I guess, now to say that by this fall, he'll be a, entry-level software engineer. And that's something that he didn't previously think was possible.
Amazing. And it's this career changer opportunity is so intriguing to me in general. Lots of opportunities for individuals within our community. So speaking of Nebraska as a whole, who have maybe the aptitude, if you will, but just haven't had the opportunity to connect to jobs. So this is just another great example of how you're making that possible through your service. So what do we need to do as a community to support you? Or what would you like to see happen?
I think two things ultimately would be great from this community. I mean, we have a number of installations that are in this area. I'm Kansas City, Missouri based, but I frequent Omaha and Lincoln. But I'd say within that context, if you know someone who's in the military, has that prior experience, I would love to connect and have an opportunity to talk to them. And it doesn't even necessarily be in sort of an effort to enhance or not enhance, in to kind of position them on the platform. I enjoy the opportunity, and it might just be the former social worker in me, the opportunity to discuss sort of past journeys and tribulations and things that people have gone through, and working through those in whatever way that manifests, whether it's sort of working with them, sort of resume review, connecting them to employers, or if it ultimately leads to that, if there's an opportunity for them to participate in the beta of the MVP that I'm working on, then that's great too. Second to that, for employers, if there are employers who are listening, or employers in the Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma area who are interested in increasing their veteran recruitment and engagement, I'd love to have a conversation to see how we could work together, or if it's simply just changing some policies around to make that more efficient process. I'm open for that as well. I think there's tremendous things that employers can do to access this talent pipeline that has been underutilized historically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I know I've heard a bit about the program SkillBridge. If you're familiar, I'm sure you are. And some maybe some challenges with like getting approval for that. It takes some time, which makes sense. But how is this program, I guess, or offering easier, or I'm trying to think of the question I'm asking here, but really just like, how are you making it simpler for employers to engage with the military or former military community?
Sure. So I think the main thing that we're doing, and I can touch on SkillBridge a little bit, but is that we're looking to aggregate talent and create a matching metric so that so employers can go on there and just intuitively understand the language and context and the potential ROI of these prospective candidates. One of the features and I guess interesting points about SkillBridge, for those who don't know, is SkillBridge is a program that allows employers to leverage military talent up to 6 months or 180 days prior to discharge, and that comes at the DoD's expense. So essentially, you're getting an employee that you can bring into your organization, trained to do a multitude of things straight from a local institution, whether that's Offutt, Leavenworth, Riley, or Leonard Wood, a number of installations. You can bring that person in, give them that 6 months of sort of onboarding process so they can get to understand your systems and mechanics. And then by the time they're actually transitioning, you can work on the actual pieces that matter as far as your specific role that you're looking to hire them into. But it's a tremendous program, but there are some difficulties that may present themselves, and that may be something as simple as 6 months to deacclimate or reacclimate to an outside entity. If you've been in the military 10 to 20 years, to switch that mindset, particularly if that's your first professional role or environment, can be quite challenging. So 6 months in some cases isn't enough, and there have been some attempts to even spread that even further to say 8 or 9 months, or even some programs go up to a year. That's essentially working the same facet that SkillBridge does.
Okay. And so then for Vetelligence, how is it easier, if you will, for employers to connect with the talent?
So what we try to do is put everything in one place. We want to remove as many barriers as possible, because that's been one of the fundamental problems in military transition, is when a military service member exits military service, they're kind of challenged to some of the existing technology that we have. There are some individuals who may believe that applicant tracking systems, or ATS, doesn't necessarily factor in filtering candidates out. But there's tremendous amounts of research that would suggest otherwise, that non-traditional experience, whether that's if you're going from high school into the military into a private sector, or if you have a GED, or if you're one of the other hidden talent groups, I would say it's a tougher obstacle to navigate going through a lot of these systems. If you're an organization that sees 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 applications a year, it would seem highly unlikely that one could hand review every single resume through talent acquisition and some other strategies. But what we're looking to do is, like, if everybody's in one place and you can understand that person's individual value to your organization, can they perform this role on a skill basis? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can they do these 5 things? Yes or no? And then this pushing that to the employer so they can make a decision much more easily.
Okay, so it's like comparing like candidates in one platform versus having those candidates in, like you said, that traditional applicant tracking system with other people who have already been in the private sector for some time working on those skills. Okay, I get it.
Exactly.
Okay, very cool. That's awesome. So I think what I'm hearing the takeaway from this for employers, at least, is to get in touch with you to learn more about how to connect with talent in your platform. And then for service members to connect with you as well to get into the platform.
Absolutely. One of the main things, as I'm going through this process and trying to build out the platform that makes the most sense to serve military service members in a way previously unexplored, is for military service members. Like I said, I welcome those conversations. If you want to hop on a call, we can do a MVP beta call. You can kind of get into the platform, see how it, see if it makes a lot of sense, see if it's an improvement on existing solutions. We can work through that. Or if you have your own transition journeys and obstacles that you're working through, we can work on that as well. And then for the employers, like you said, there's an opportunity. I'd love for every Nebraska, every Missouri, every sort of United States employer, or even international employer, to have the opportunity to access this unique talent group that has the skills and that transition well into the tech and operation roles. But one of the other sort of areas that might be a gap is I'm very cognizant and understanding that, okay, there are some things may have changed since that person entered the military, and they need a little bit of extra work or so. I'm fully prepared to work with service members on an individual or cohort basis so that they can, we can address this skill gap. Because whether they're in the military or not, we're going to experience a significant shift as far as the demands of the workforce as we move more into the fourth industrial revolution, which is going to be mainly focused on technology.
Love it. Okay. All right. Let me see. I'm just checking our attendee list. Justin, who is with us, do you have any questions for Zach? I'm going to take you off of mute here. Yeah, that works. Okay. If you have any questions for Zach.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
Okay. I'll just introduce myself real quick. Zach, my name's Justin Carlson. I live in the Des Moines area, so we're all in the Midwest, it sounds like. So I transitioned out of active duty Navy service last year, still a reservist, and I'm a recruiter in IT for a local staffing firm here in Iowa. We've been around for about 26 years. So I jumped on just to learn a little bit about what you're doing and what you have going on, and I'll send you a connect on LinkedIn if I haven't already, and like to just kind of talk more about what you're doing.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to chat and have that conversation. I'm actually was born not too far from Des Moines, in Sioux City.
Okay, cool.
Well, awesome. Thank you both for being here this morning. Again, sorry I was late, and we'll get this posted and available for folks. And we'll also include your contact info, Zach, in the posts so people can reach out to you. And thanks for all you're doing.
Of course. Thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to talk about, hiring into this hidden talent group, or even just the workforce in general. We're going to, like I said, experience a significant shift over the coming years. And I think employers need to do some things that are maybe unconventional or non-traditional if they want to be able to, bridge this gap.
Agreed. All right. Thank you all, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.